Number 4, life is a zero-sum game. What are the results of this assumption that is all running inside of us? Massive income disparity, race and economic and gender oppression, territoriality and control, war. All 4 rules lead to conflict and war. War conditioned these days as a prerequisite for freedom. The war-making machine of our geopolitical powers is certifiably out of control. Witness our $13 trillion in national debt. With a debt this large and no end in sight, how can we do anything from carbon pricing down to shift the paradigm? Because if we continue to play by these rules, its war defines our state existence and shortly thereafter our non-existence. So what's a way forward? I believe that one of the things we need to do is to stop playing by these rules. We need to put down the playbook, we need to put down the knee pads, and we need to fold them, fold the cards. Stop playing by these rules or these assumptions and come up with some new ones that honor humanity, love, and operate from some new places in us, our human side. Here's some new assumptions we might want to work with, like success equals death. Nurturing love and learning stops violence. Productive, creative work only happens when infused with play. Someone else's gain is also our gain, and someone else's loss is also our loss. The weird part is, I think everyone innately knows these assumptions will lead to radically different outcomes. They're already built into our spiritual consciousness, no matter what religion we do or do not follow. So what's stopping us? Perhaps it's the belief that the game is all there is, or that if we stop playing the game, those with more power and resources might have to share some, or that chaos would ensue. Whatever the fear, it's time to face it. And it will require doing the hard personal work to find those assumptions in us, locate them, toss them out, make some new ones. So what are the implications for the work that you all presented today? That was the hardest thing I had to get to by the end of this thought process I was in. Or what are the implications for the politics associated with making these changes? How does any of this relate to where we go from here? So I would suggest that it's time to focus as much of our energy on our internal dynamics, a deeper understanding of ourselves and others, manifest in our relationships across groups, organizations, and political parties, as we do trying to wrestle with the external problems. So leaving space at convenings just like this, and any time we get together, especially across diverse groups with different political ideology, to unearth and examine our deeply held assumptions and create some new ones together. To some of you, this might feel like a variation of navel-gazing. For God's sake, woman, I hear you say, our problems are so big and vexing. How can we possibly turn away? And I can see how some of you might feel that way. But the reality is we are being called like never before to stop and slow down and look under the hood and dig around in those 39.9 million bits of information that come to us every day that we rarely investigate. And this, let me be clear, this is not navel-gazing. This is accountable adult behavior. Try to more deeply understand why we do what we do and look for new strategies to learn and connect with others at a deeper level. It's the only antidote to creating larger and larger shadows because of what we consistently don't look at, talk about, or pay attention to. Because inside us, inside the murky organism of ours that's filled with emotions and shadows and questions and vulnerability is where all the new solutions, insights, understanding, and perspective will come from. And perhaps, just perhaps, may lead us out of this repetitive nightmare that we're in and into a more expansive, a more joyful, and possibly a more sustainable collective existence. Thank you. If anyone has any.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to take it then.
Let's do a couple more questions.
You mentioned the right and left brain and getting them to work together. How exactly does one do that?
They do already. The left brain works through competition and the right works through collaboration. So one of the things we have to do is get into more of the practice of letting the right brain be completely in its elements so that it's allowed to be brought in to left brain thinking. But what happens is if the left brain is dominant and works primarily through competition, it will start to neglect and reduce what it sees coming in from the right. So our more creative capacities come from expanding our ability to access the right. And there's all kinds of things you can do to do that so that they're more in alignment. And the right is really the master, and the left is its servant. Because the right is the leader, and it can see where we need to go. And the left can put it into manifestation.
A group of ideas for applying this to climate change is Randy Olson's "Don't Be Such a Scientist."
What is it saying to us?
He says, don't tell stories and make it sexy.
I'd like to suggest to you and to others here that the interchange that you speak about can be described in the word nonviolence, can be described in the words from long ago, love your enemy, or Martin Luther King, or Gandhi, not the actions out there that overthrew empire nonviolently, but the change inside of Gandhi that made it possible, inside of Martin Luther King, inside of many others. And it seems to me, if we could learn to try and practice what Jesus said to those of us that are Christians or Buddhists or others say, of trying to love our enemy, that one concept could relate us to the rest of the world in a way that would solve many of these problems that we're all struggling with.
You have the right-left brain. I know a lot of educators are using that in school now, right-brain thinking, brain gym. You talked briefly a little bit about habits and how it's easier to change with children. What do you feel about K-12 education, and do we need to change those habits in kids early? I know we're starting late, we need to change now. Well, what about more in-depth curriculum, K-12 and the environmental, carbon, changing their habits in the schools early on? So
We have to change. One of the reasons I left art school was because I got frustrated with how limited adults perceive, what a limited perception adults were seeing as to the value of that kind of work. So I decided to go back out to help change adult perception and experience with creativity so they could remember how incredibly empowering it was to access these two sides of the brain more effectively and the unconscious. And there's a whole series of habits we talked about in creative practice that we facilitate with adults so they get to experience what that is and go, oh, wow, I'm more effective, I'm more empowered, I'm more authentic. And when they're accessing that, that will start to shift the perception around what education could be like. Because education obviously is still shaped entirely by us. The children don't get the say. So we have to, our adults have to make the change. Slowly, surely.
Lisa, thank you for your very effective, empowered, and authentic words. Thank you to your credit that this has been such a fantastic day. I'd like to see a quick straw poll in two parts. First of all, raise your hand if you are fired up to keep on doing what you do and hopefully do even more to solve climate change. Awesome. Now stand up. If you're interested in being part of a 2014, maybe that too, 2014 poll to get it on the ballot. Show your stripes. Help gather signatures and maybe put in $10 a week. I think we've got a movement here. Awesome. All right, well, I heard some really good words also come from Louise. We need more stories. We need to make this sexier. So after 5 small PSAs, I hope you'll join us over at Agua Verde to share our stories over a beer and figure out how to make this sexier. So 5 quick PSAs. They are, first of all, if you wanted to fill out the form with the donations for your visa or whatever, this little jar will be out on the table or here. There might be 2 of them. Second of all, to stay in touch, we do have your email if you registered on the website. You'll get an email from Patrick here probably about staying in touch and what's next. Next, appreciate everyone's help in cleaning up, bringing all of our personal items out of here, and also if you have any extra food, putting it out on the food table there. And then, all right, donations, cleanup, email, food, beer. We will see you at Agua Verde. Awesome.
Where is that? What is it?
Oh, and take the extra food.